She accidentally sat with her billionaire CEO ex at the restaurant with their 6-year-old twin daughters. Part 3. Victoria Grant Sr. didn't make threats she couldn't follow through on, and 3 hours after Maxwell hung up on her, she did something that would expose a secret he had kept hidden for 6 years. She called a press conference and stood before a room full of reporters with an announcement that made headlines around the world. My son Maxwell Grant has recently discovered he is the father of twin daughters he never knew existed. While we welcome these children into the Grant family, we must address the concerning circumstances of their mother, Olivia Martinez, who deliberately kept these children hidden from their father and his family for 6 years, denying them their rightful heritage and our family the chance to know them. We are pursuing legal action to ensure these children receive proper care and protection. The lie was delivered so smoothly, with such dignified concern, that half the country believed it before Olivia even knew it had happened. And when Maxwell's phone started exploding with calls, when he turned on the television and saw his mother's face across every news channel painting Olivia as a villain, he realized the real war had just begun. Welcome back to Dr. Samuel Chronicles family. We've been on an incredible emotional journey with Olivia, Maxwell, and the twins, and now we've reached a powerful conclusion. If you've been with us from part 1, thank you for your loyalty. If you're just joining, please go back and watch from the beginning, because this story deserves to be experienced fully. Before we dive into this final chapter, show your support by hitting that subscribe button, smashing the like button, and dropping a comment telling us what you think Victoria Grant Sr. deserves. Share this video with everyone who loves stories about karma and justice. Now, let's see how this all unfolds. Olivia stood in Maxwell's living room, watching the news coverage of Victoria Grant Sr.'s press conference, and felt a rage so pure it made her hands shake. The twins were still in their playroom, blissfully unaware that their grandmother just told the entire world they were victims who needed saving from their own mother. "She's calling me an unfit mother," Olivia said, her voice deadly quiet. "She's telling the world I kept the twins from you deliberately, maliciously, as if I was some gold digger waiting for the right moment to cash in." Maxwell stood beside her, his face pale with fury and what looked like shame. "I'll fix this. I'll call my own press conference, tell the truth about what happened 6 years ago, about how my mother drove you away." "And who will they believe?" Olivia asked bitterly. "The respected matriarch of one of America's wealthiest families, or the nobody event coordinator she's painting as an opportunist. She's already controlling the narrative, Maxwell. She's already won." "No," Maxwell said firmly. "She hasn't won. She's just made the biggest mistake of her life, because this time I'm not backing down. This time I have something worth fighting for." Before Olivia could respond, Maxwell's phone rang. His lawyer called with news that made the situation even worse. Victoria Grant Sr. hadn't just called a press conference. She had filed for emergency grandparents' rights, claiming the twins were being kept in an unstable situation and needed protection and resources only the Grant family could provide. "She's trying to take them," Olivia whispered, feeling her legs weaken. "She's actually trying to take my daughters." Maxwell caught her as she swayed, guiding her to the couch. "She won't succeed. No judge will grant her custody or even visitation over the objections of both parents. But she's creating a legal battle that will drag all of us through court, that will subject the twins to interviews and evaluations, that will keep this story in the news for months." "Why?" Olivia asked, tears streaming down her face. Why would she do this to her own granddaughters? They're children, innocent children. Why would she want to traumatize them just to prove a point? Maxwell's expression was grim. "Because to my mother, the twins aren't granddaughters first. They're grand heirs, assets to be controlled and managed, and you're the obstacle preventing her from molding them into what she thinks they should be. She did the same thing to me, spent my entire childhood programming me to put family legacy above personal happiness. I won't let her do that to Amelia and Victoria." "Then what do we do?" Olivia asked. "How do we fight someone with unlimited resources and no conscience?" "We tell the truth," Maxwell said. "All of it. Not just about 6 years ago, but about everything. About the real Victoria Grant Sr. and what she's done to this family for decades. And we start with someone who's been waiting a long time to help me stand up to her. Maxwell made a call, and 30 minutes later, an elderly gentleman arrived at the house. Olivia recognized him from Maxwell's description as Edward Chun, her father's oldest friend, the one who had told Maxwell about his father's regrets. Edward greeted Maxwell warmly, then turned to Olivia with kind eyes. "Ms. Martinez, I've heard a great deal about you over the years. From Maxwell, of course, but also from my late wife, who worked with you briefly at the Riverside Gallery. She said you were the most genuine, hard-working young woman she had ever met. I'm sorry for everything Victoria has put you through." "Thank you," Olivia said, surprised and touched. "But I don't understand how you can help us." Edward's expression turned serious. "Because I have information about Victoria Grant Sr. that she spent 40 years keeping secret. Information that will neutralize her attempt to control your family, if we choose to use it. But Maxwell, you need to understand what releasing this information will mean. It will destroy your mother's reputation. It will expose family secrets that can never be taken back. Are you prepared for that?" Maxwell didn't hesitate. If it's the only way to protect Olivia and the twins from her manipulation, then yes. I'm done protecting my mother's image at the expense of people I love. Edward nodded and opened his briefcase, pulling out a folder of documents. "Your father was my best friend, Maxwell, and before he died, he asked me to keep these papers safe until the right time. He said if Victoria ever went too far, if she ever tried to destroy someone the way she had destroyed his happiness, I should make sure the truth came out." "What truth?" Olivia asked. Edward spread the documents on the coffee table. "The truth about how Victoria Grant Sr. built a family fortune, and who she destroyed to do it." Over the next hour, Edward told a story that shocked even Maxwell. 40 years ago, when Maxwell's father was young and the Grant family was wealthy but not extraordinarily so, Victoria had been an ambitious woman from a middle-class family who saw marriage to Richard Grant as her ticket to the life she wanted. But Richard had been in love with someone else, a kind woman named Sarah Chun, Edward's younger sister. Richard and Sarah had planned to marry despite the Grant family's disapproval, but Victoria had sabotaged that relationship with a calculated cruelty that was breathtaking. She had fabricated evidence that Sarah was having an affair with another man, created photographs and letters that looked damning, and presented them to Richard at a family gathering where his grandmother and mother could witness his humiliation. Sarah had tried to defend herself, to explain that the evidence was manufactured. But the Grant family had already decided she was unsuitable, and the fabricated affair gave them the excuse they needed to force Richard to end the relationship. Heartbroken and humiliated, Sarah had left the city. She died 2 years later in a car accident, and Edward's voice broke as he revealed that she had never married, never recovered from losing Richard. "My sister loved your father until her last breath," Edward told Maxwell, "and your father loved her too. He married your mother out of family obligation, and because he believed Sarah had betrayed him. But eventually he discovered the truth about Victoria's manipulation. He confronted her, threatened to leave, but by then you had been born, Maxwell. Your mother told him that if he left, she would make sure he never saw you again, that she would use her family's legal connections to paint him as unstable and keep you from him. So he stayed, trapped in a loveless marriage, and made me promise that Victoria would eventually face consequences for what she had done." Olivia felt sick. She destroyed 2 lives just to get what she wanted. 3 lives, Edward corrected, because your father was never truly happy. He loved you, Maxwell, loved you desperately, but he lived with regret and bitterness until the day he died. These documents prove what Victoria did. The photographer she paid to create the fake evidence, the forger who created the letters, they both kept copies and records, and your father bought them to protect himself from Victoria's potential future manipulations. It's all here, documented and undeniable. Maxwell stared at the papers, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. She destroyed my father's life. She trapped him in a marriage with blackmail. And then she tried to do the exact same thing to me with Olivia. Yes, Edward said gently. Victoria sees people as chess pieces, Maxwell. She always has. And she'll do the same to your daughters if you let her. The room fell silent as they all absorbed the weight of this revelation. Finally, Olivia spoke. If we release this information, The media will tear her apart. The same reporters who are currently calling me a villain will turn on her in an instant. It will destroy her reputation. Probably destroy Grant Industries' image too. I know, Maxwell said. But I also know that my father kept these documents for 40 years waiting for justice. And I know that if I don't stop my mother now, she'll never stop trying to control the twins' lives. She'll use her money and influence to undermine you, Olivia, to position herself as their savior and you as inadequate. She'll try to turn them against you the way she turned me against my own instincts. I can't let that happen. Watching the emotion play across his face, seeing him finally choose love and truth over family loyalty and image, Olivia felt something shift in her heart. This was the man she had fallen in love with 6 years ago, the one who had been buried under layers of family obligation and fear of disappointing his mother. He was finally breaking free. If you're feeling the intensity of this moment, we need your support. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling us if you think Maxwell is making the right choice. Share this video with someone who needs to see the story. Now, let's see what happened when the truth came out. Maxwell called his lawyer and instructed him to prepare a comprehensive response to Victoria Grant Sr.'s legal filing and press conference. The response would include the truth about 6 years ago, Maxwell's own statement taking full responsibility for the breakup and Olivia's disappearance, and if necessary, the documents Edward had provided about Victoria's past actions. But before any of that could be filed, Victoria Grant Sr. made another move that changed everything. She showed up at the safe house. Olivia didn't know how she had found them, what investigator or connection had tracked them down, but suddenly the security system was alerting them to a car coming up the private drive, and through the window, Olivia saw a luxury sedan pulling up to the house. Victoria Grant Sr. emerged from the car like a queen arriving at court, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, radiating the authority of wealth and power. She walked the front door and knocked, not tentative or uncertain, but commanding. Maxwell opened the door with Olivia standing behind him. The twins were still in their playroom, and Olivia prayed they would stay there. "Mother," Maxwell said coldly, "you're not welcome here." "Don't be ridiculous, Maxwell," Victoria said, walking past him into the house as if she owned it. "I'm here to meet my granddaughters and discuss the situation rationally, since you seem incapable of managing it yourself." Her eyes landed on Olivia, and the contempt in her gaze was the same as it had been 6 years ago. "Ms. Martinez, how convenient that you suddenly reappear with children claiming Grant paternity, just as Maxwell's wealth has tripled from what it was 6 years ago. Your timing is remarkably opportunistic." "Get out," Olivia said, her voice shaking with rage. "You have no right to come here, no right to make accusations, and no right to be anywhere near my children." "Your children?" Victoria laughed, a cold sound without humor. "They're Grant heirs, which makes them my concern. And from what I've seen, they're being kept from their family, denied their rightful place in society, raised in poverty by a single mother with limited means when they could have every advantage. They're being raised with love." Olivia shot back, "Something you clearly know nothing about." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Love doesn't pay for private schools or secure their futures. Love doesn't open doors or create opportunities. You're being selfish, Ms. Martinez, keeping these children in your limited world when they deserve so much more. What they deserve is to not be manipulated and controlled by a woman who destroys anyone who doesn't serve her purposes," Maxwell said, stepping between his mother and Olivia. "I know what you did to my father and Sarah Chun. I have the documents, the evidence of how you fabricated an affair to break them up. I know you trapped my father in a loveless marriage with blackmail, and I'm done letting you control my life or anyone else's." For the first time, Olivia saw a genuine emotion on Victoria Grant Sr.'s face. Shock, then fear, then cold fury. "Edward Chun," she said, his name like a curse. "That meddling old fool. He promised Richard he would keep those papers confidential. He promised my father he would keep them until the right time," Maxwell corrected. "And that time is now. You filed for grandparents' rights. You called a press conference painting Olivia as a villain. You're trying to take my daughters from their mother. You've gone too far, and now you face consequences." Victoria's composure cracked slightly. If you release those documents, you will destroy the Grant family name. You'll damage the company, hurt the stock price, ruin everything your father built. My father built a company while trapped in a prison of your making, Maxwell said, his voice hard. He lived with regret and bitterness because you destroyed his chance at happiness. I won't let you do the same to me or to Amelia and Victoria. So here's what's going to happen, Mother. You're going to withdraw your legal filing immediately. You're going to issue a public statement apologizing for your previous comments and clarifying that Olivia is an excellent mother and that the twins have been well cared for. You're going to respect our boundaries about when and how you meet the twins, if we decide to allow that at all. And in exchange, those documents stay private. You're blackmailing me? Victoria asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. I'm protecting my family, Maxwell said, the way my father should have been free to protect his. You taught me that family legacy is everything, Mother. Well, I'm starting a new legacy with my daughters, one based on love and truth instead of manipulation and control. Either you accept that or you deal with the consequences of your past actions becoming public. The silence stretched between them, tension so thick Olivia could barely breathe. She watched Victoria Grant Sr.'s face, seeing the calculation behind her eyes, the weighing of options and outcomes. Finally, Victoria spoke, and her voice was ice. You'll regret this, Maxwell, choosing this woman and her children over your family, over everything I've built for you. They are my family, Maxwell said quietly, and I already lived with regret for 6 years after I chose your approval over the woman I loved. I won't make that mistake again. Victoria looked at Olivia one last time, and what Olivia saw in her eyes was pure hatred. You've won this round, Ms. Martinez. Enjoy it. But understand that I will be watching, waiting for you to prove yourself as unsuitable as I know you are. And when you do, when you show your true colors, I'll be there to protect my granddaughters from you. You'll be waiting a long time, Olivia said, meeting Victoria's gaze without flinching. Because I've spent 6 years proving I'm exactly the mother they need. I don't need your approval or your money or your family name. I just need my daughter's love, and I have that already. Victoria turned and walked out of the house, her posture rigid with fury and wounded pride. They watched through the window as she got into her car and drove away, and only when the vehicle disappeared from sight did Olivia allow herself to breathe. She'll keep her word, Edward said, having witnessed the entire confrontation from the hallway. Victoria is many things, but she's practical. She won't risk those documents becoming public, not when it would destroy the image she spent 40 years building. She'll withdraw the legal filing and issue the statement Maxwell demanded. And then what? Olivia asked. She just accepts this? She seems like the type to hold a grudge. Oh, she'll hold a grudge until her dying day, Edward said with a sad smile. But she'll do it from a distance, because she knows Maxwell finally has the leverage and the backbone to stand against her. Your family is safe from her direct interference, though I suspect she'll never be warm or welcoming. I don't need her warmth, Olivia said. I just need her to leave us alone. Maxwell turned to Olivia, and she saw exhaustion and relief and something that looked like hope in his eyes. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry my mother said those horrible things to you again. But I meant what I said. You and the twins are my family now. I'm done choosing anything over you. Olivia felt tears well up. You stood up to her. You actually stood up to her. I should have done it 6 years ago. I should have fought for you then. I can't change the past, Olivia, but I'm asking for a chance to be part of the future. Not your future necessarily. I know I destroyed that possibility. But the twins' future. Let me be their father. Let me show them that the Grant name doesn't have to mean manipulation and coldness. Let me teach them to be strong and kind and true to themselves. Before Olivia could answer, a small voice came from the doorway. Mommy, who is that lady? She seemed mean. They turned to find both twins standing there, having apparently heard at least part of the confrontation. Victoria looked defiant and protective, standing slightly in front of her sister. Amelia looked worried, her sensitive nature picking up on the tension. Olivia knelt down to their level. That was your grandmother, your daddy's mother. And you're right. She wasn't very nice just now. But she's gone and everything is okay. Why was she being mean to you? Victoria asked, her young face fierce. Nobody should be mean to our mommy. Maxwell knelt down beside Olivia, and Olivia saw his eyes fill with tears at Victoria's protective statement. You're absolutely right, he said to the twins. Nobody should be mean to your mommy. She's wonderful and strong, and she's taken such good care of you. I'm sorry my mother said unkind things. Sometimes grown-ups make bad choices and say things they shouldn't. Like you did 6 years ago? Amelia asked, her quiet voice cutting through with unexpected insight. Mommy said you made a bad choice back then, and that's why you weren't with us. Maxwell looked at Olivia, silently asking permission, and she nodded. These girls deserve truth appropriate to their age. Yes, Maxwell said to Amelia. Like I did 6 years ago. I made a very bad choice. I listened to my mother instead of following my heart, and I let your mommy go even though I loved her. It's the biggest mistake I ever made, and I've regretted it every single day. I lost 6 years with you girls. 6 years I can never get back. I miss your first words, your first steps, your first day of school. I missed everything, and it's my fault. This is the moment where healing begins. If this story is touching your heart, show your support right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to Dr. Samuel Chronicles, and drop a comment telling us about a time someone in your life finally stood up for what was right. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Now, let's see what happens next. But you're here now, Victoria pointed out with her practical, straightforward nature. You can't change the past, but you can be here for future. That's what Mommy always says. Maxwell let out a surprised laugh through his tears. Your daughter is wise, Olivia. They both are, Olivia said, pulling the twins into a hug. They've had to be. Amelia studied Maxwell seriously. If you want to be our daddy now, you have to promise not to leave again. We don't need a daddy who leaves. I promise, Maxwell said, his voice thick with emotion. I will never leave you girls. Even if your mommy decides she doesn't want me in her life, I will always be here for you. You have my word, and I keep my promises. Do you really want to learn to draw? Amelia asked, switching topics with the quick adaptability of children. Because I could teach you. I'm very good. I would love that more than anything, Maxwell said. And just like that, the twins accepted him. They took his hands and led him back to their playroom, chattering about their toys and their favorite games, ready to include this new person in their world with the openness that children possess before the world teaches them to be guarded. Olivia watched them go, feeling Edward's gentle hand on her shoulder. You've raised remarkable girls, he said softly. They have your strength and their father's determination, but more importantly, they have your capacity for forgiveness and love. That's a rare gift. I never wanted them to be bitter or angry, Olivia said, even about Maxwell. I told them their daddy didn't know about them, not that he abandoned them. I wanted them to have the possibility of a relationship with him, if it ever happened. That was generous of you, considering how he hurt you. Olivia sighed. I was hurt, devastated actually, but I also understood that Maxwell was trapped by family expectations and fear of disappointing his mother. I didn't agree with his choice, and I couldn't stay in a relationship with someone who would choose obligation over love. But I didn't hate him, and I didn't want my daughters to carry that burden. Do you think you could ever forgive him? Edward asked gently. Not forget what happened, but forgive? Olivia thought about the question, really thought about it. 6 years ago, Maxwell had broken her heart by choosing his mother's approval over their relationship. It had devastated her, sent her into a spiral of pain and uncertainty, especially when she discovered she was pregnant. She had spent months angry, hurt, feeling betrayed and abandoned. But over the years, as she healed and grew stronger, as she built a life for herself and her daughters, the anger had faded. She had come to understand that Maxwell had been a victim too, trapped in a toxic family dynamic that prioritized legacy over happiness. That didn't excuse his choice, but it helped her understand it. And now, watching him kneeling on the floor of the playroom with Amelia and Victoria, listening to their chatter with complete attention, looking at them like they were the most precious things in the world, Olivia felt something shift in her heart. I think I already have forgiven him, she said slowly. Maybe not consciously, but I let go of the anger years ago. I focus on my daughters and building a good life, and I didn't carry bitterness. What I'm struggling with now isn't forgiveness. It's trust. Can I trust that he's really changed? Can I trust that he won't choose his mother or his empire over us again when things get difficult? Those are fair questions, Edward said, and only time will answer them. But Olivia, I've known Maxwell since he was born. I watched him grow up under his mother's manipulation, watched him try to please her even when it destroyed his own happiness. What I saw today, him standing up to Victoria, choosing you and the twins over her approval, that's new. That's growth. That's a man who's finally learned what really matters. Later that evening, after the twins were asleep in their new beds, exhausted from the emotional day, Olivia and Maxwell sat on the back patio of the safe house, looking at the stars. Victoria issued the statement. Maxwell said quietly, withdrawing her legal filing, apologizing for her previous comments, acknowledging that you're an excellent mother and the twins are well cared for. Her lawyers filed a withdrawal with the court an hour ago. How angry is she? Furious. But she'll abide by our agreement because she has no choice. Her image and reputation are everything to her, and those documents would destroy both. They sat in silence for a while, the night peaceful around them. Finally, Olivia spoke. What happens now, Maxwell? The media storm will die down eventually. Your mother has backed off. The twins are safe. Where does that leave us? Maxwell turned to look at her, and in his eyes, she saw a vulnerability she had never seen before. Where do you want it to leave us? I don't know, Olivia admitted. 6 years ago, I loved you with everything I had. When you chose your mother over me, it broke something inside me. I've healed, built a good life, become stronger. But I don't know if I can go back to that place of vulnerability with you. I don't know if I can risk my heart again. I'm not asking you to, Maxwell said gently. I know I destroyed what we had. I know I don't deserve another chance with you romantically. But Olivia, I'm asking for a chance to be in the twins' lives, to be a real father to them, to co-parent with you, to support you, to be a family even if we're not together romantically. And if I said I needed time, if I said I'm not ready for you to be a constant presence yet, then I'd wait, Maxwell said simply. However long it takes. I'd prove myself through actions, not words. I'd show up for the twins, support you however you need, respect your boundaries, and earn back your trust step by step. I have the rest of my life to prove I've changed. Olivia, I'm not going anywhere. Olivia felt tears slip down her cheeks. You hurt me so badly. I know, and I'm sorry, more sorry than I can ever express. If I could go back and change it, if I could be the man I should have been 6 years ago, I would in a heartbeat. But I can't change the past. All I can do is try to be better now, for you and for our daughters. Our daughters, Olivia repeated softly. I've been calling them mine for so long. It's strange to share that. They'll always be yours in the ways that matter most, Maxwell said. You carried them, birthed them, raised them with love and sacrifice. You're their world, Olivia. I'm just hoping for a small corner of that world where I can be their father. Looking at this man, seeing the genuine remorse and determination in his eyes, Olivia made a decision. Not to dive back into a romantic relationship, not to pretend the past hadn't happened, but to give him the chance he was asking for. Okay, she said, you could be part of their lives. We'll start slow, establish a co-parenting relationship, see how it goes. But Maxwell, if you hurt them, if you disappoint them or let them down, I will cut you out of their lives so fast you won't know what happened. They come first, always, before your business, before your mother, before everything. Can you commit to that? Yes, Maxwell said without hesitation. They're my priority now. Everything else is secondary. Then we'll try. One day at a time, one step at a time. We'll figure out how to be a family, even if it's not a traditional one. Maxwell reached out slowly, giving Olivia time to pull away, and took her hand. Thank you for this chance, for raising such incredible daughters, for being stronger than I ever was. I won't let you down again. The next few weeks were an adjustment for everyone. Maxwell found an apartment near Olivia's place, so he could be close to the twins. He showed up for dinners twice a week, took them to the park on Saturdays, attended Amelia's art class performances, and Victoria's soccer games. He learned their favorite foods, their bedtime routines, their personalities and quirks. He was patient when they tested him, when Victoria declared she didn't need a daddy one day out of the blue, or when Amelia got shy and quiet around him. He didn't push, didn't demand affection or acceptance, just showed up consistently and loved them steadily. Olivia watched carefully, looking for signs that this was temporary, that Maxwell would eventually get bored or distracted by his business obligations. But he kept showing up. He rearranged board meetings to make soccer games. He learned to braid hair for Amelia's recital. He sat through endless viewings of their favorite movies without complaint. And slowly, Olivia felt her walls beginning to lower. 3 months after the restaurant encounter, Maxwell invited Olivia and the twins to dinner at his apartment. He had been practicing cooking, he said, and wanted to make them a special meal. The apartment was beautiful but not ostentatious, filled with photos of the twins he had been taking over the past months. Olivia noticed that there were no photos of his society events or business achievements, just images of Amelia and Victoria laughing, playing, living their lives. Maxwell had made spaghetti, simple but prepared with obvious care. The twins chatted happily throughout dinner, completely comfortable now with their father's presence in their lives. They told him about school, showed him drawings Amelia had made, and Victoria demonstrated the new soccer move she had learned. After dinner, while the twins watched a movie, Maxwell asked Olivia to step onto the balcony with him. "I have something to tell you," he said, and Olivia's heart sank, waiting for the bad news, the thing that would ruin this fragile peace they had built. "I'm stepping down as CEO of Grant Industries," Maxwell said. Olivia stared at him in shock. "What? Why? Your company is your life." "No," Maxwell corrected gently. "My company was my prison. It was a thing I used to please my mother, to fill the emptiness after you left. But it's not my life anymore. Amelia and Victoria are my life. Being their father is my life. And I can't be the father they deserve while running a multi-billion-dollar empire that demands 80 hours a week. Maxwell, that's too much. I don't want you to resent us for giving up your career. I'm not giving it up. I'm restructuring it. I'm staying on the board, maintaining ownership, but bringing in a CEO who actually wants a job. I'm starting a new venture, actually, a foundation focused on helping single parents with resources, child care assistance, education support. Inspired by you and everything you did alone for 6 years." Olivia felt tears well up. "You're serious. Completely serious. I spent 6 years living for my mother's approval and being miserable. I'm done with that life. I want to build something meaningful, something that helps people like you who are doing the hard work of raising kids without support. And I want to have time for my daughters, to be present for their lives, not a distant father who shows up for birthdays and missed everything else." "Your mother will be furious." Maxwell smiled. "My mother is already furious about 100 things I've done in the past 3 months. One more won't make much difference. Besides, she doesn't get a vote anymore." Olivia looked at this man who had once chosen his empire over love, who had broken her heart by putting his mother's approval above their relationship, and saw someone completely transformed. Not perfect, but trying, growing, choosing differently. "I'm proud of you," she said softly, "for making these changes, for standing up to your mother, for being there for the twins. You're becoming the man I always believed you could be." Maxwell's eyes glistened. "Does that mean you might consider giving us another chance?" "Not now necessarily. I know I need to keep proving myself. But eventually, when you're ready, could you see a future where we're not just co-parents, but actually together?" Olivia thought about the question. 6 years ago, she would have said yes immediately, would have jumped at any chance to be with Maxwell. But she was older now, wiser, more careful with her heart. "Ask me again in 6 months, she said finally. "Keep showing up for the twins. Keep making good choices. Keep being the man you've been these past 3 months. And if you're still this person in 6 months, if you've proven this isn't temporary, then we'll talk about possibilities." Maxwell nodded, accepting her terms. 6 months. I can do that. I can prove that this is real, that I've really changed. And he did. Over the next 6 months, Maxwell continued to show up consistently. He attended every school event, every sports game, every art show. He took the twins on adventures, and also showed up for the mundane moments, the homework help, and the bedtime stories. He launched his foundation and dedicated himself to helping single parents, using his resources and connections to create real change. Olivia watched him testify before Congress about child care support, watched him visit community centers in struggling neighborhoods, watched him use his privilege and power for good, and slowly, inevitably, Olivia felt herself falling in love with him again. Not the same innocent, hopeful love of 6 years ago, but something deeper and more mature, built on trust and respect, and watching him become the best version of himself. The twins noticed, of course. Children always do. They started asking why Daddy didn't live with them, why Mommy and Daddy weren't married like their friends' parents. One evening, exactly 6 months to the day after their balcony conversation, Maxwell showed up for dinner with a nervous energy Olivia hadn't seen before. After the meal, he asked the twins to help him with something special. They giggled with excitement as he positioned them on either side of him in the living room, each holding a small box. Then Maxwell got down on one knee in front of Olivia, and her heart stopped. "Olivia Martinez," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "6 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life by letting you go. I chose fear and obligation over love. I've spent 6 years regretting that choice and the past 6 months trying to prove I've learned from it. You are the strongest, most amazing woman I've ever known. You raised our incredible daughters alone, with grace and love and sacrifice. You forgave me when I didn't deserve it and gave me a chance to be a father. I don't deserve you, I know that, but I'm asking anyway. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving I've changed? Will you give us a chance to be a real family?" Amelia and Victoria opened their boxes, revealing a beautiful engagement ring and matching mother-daughter necklaces. "We helped pick them out," Victoria announced proudly. "Daddy asked our permission to ask you. He said he wouldn't ask unless we were okay with it." Amelia added softly, "Because we're a family and families make big decisions together." Olivia looked at the three of them, this man who had finally learned to choose love over obligation, and these two precious girls who had brought so much joy to her life, and she knew her answer. Make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss the beautiful ending of this story. Hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling us if you think Olivia should say yes. And share this video with everyone who loves stories about second chances and redemption. Now, let's see what Olivia decided. "Yes," Olivia said through tears. "Yes, I'll marry you." The twins squealed with delight, jumping on both of them in a massive hug. Maxwell slipped the ring on Olivia's finger with shaking hands, and then they were all laughing and crying and holding each other. 6 months later, Olivia and Maxwell were married in a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by the people who truly mattered. Edward Chin walked Olivia down the aisle. The twins served as flower girls, beaming with pride. Maxwell's mother was not invited, and for the first time, her absence felt like freedom rather than loss. Victoria Grant Sr. watched the wedding photos appear in society pages and felt the bitter taste of defeat. She had lost her son to the unsuitable woman she had tried to drive away years ago. Her granddaughters were growing up calling someone else grandma, Edward Chen's wife's sister, who had stepped into that role with love and warmth. The Grant family legacy she had spent 40 years building had been restructured, with Maxwell stepping back from daily operations and using his wealth for philanthropy rather than empire expansion. She had won many battles in her life through manipulation and control, but she had lost this war. And the cost was knowing her son was happier without her, that her granddaughters were thriving without her influence, and that she would grow old watching from the outside as they built a family that didn't include her. That was her karma, the consequence of a lifetime of putting power over love, control over connection, image over authenticity. 5 years after the wedding, Olivia and Maxwell sat on their back porch watching Amelia and Victoria play in the yard. The twins were 11 now, confident and kind, growing into remarkable young women. "Do you ever regret it?" Olivia asked Maxwell, "Giving up the CEO position, stepping back from your mother's vision for your life?" Maxwell pulled her close. "Never," Not for a single second. I spent the first 30 years of my life living for my mother's approval and being miserable. I've spent the past 5 years living for love, and I've never been happier. I get to wake up next to you every morning. I get to be a real father to our daughters. I get to do work that actually matters through the foundation. This is a life I should have chosen 6 years ago. We both needed that time, Olivia said wisely. I needed to grow strong enough to not need you. You needed to hit bottom and realize what really mattered. If you had found me 6 years ago, I'm not sure we would have made it. We both had growing to do. Maybe, Maxwell agreed, but I still regret the pain I caused you, the years I missed with the twins. I know, but that regret makes you a better father now, a better husband. You don't take us for granted because you know what it's like to lose us. And Maxwell, watching you stand up to your mother, watching you choose us over her approval, that healed something in me I didn't even know was broken. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their daughters laugh and play, and felt the peace that comes from making the right choices, even when those choices come later than they should have. As the sun set over their home, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From that terrible night 6 years ago when Maxwell had broken her heart, through the lonely years of raising twins alone, to the chance encounter at the restaurant that had changed everything, to this moment of peace and family. She had learned that sometimes the worst heartbreaks lead to the greatest growth. That strength comes from surviving what you thought would destroy you. That forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not just the person who hurt you. And that real love isn't about perfection, but about choosing each other over and over, even when it's hard. Maxwell had learned that approval from someone who demands you betray yourself isn't worth having. That legacy built on manipulation and control is hollow. That real strength is standing up for what you love, even when everyone around you says you're wrong. And that being present matters more than being powerful. And the twins, growing up watching their parents choose love over obligation, authenticity over image, connection over control, were learning the most important lesson of all. That they were valuable exactly as they were. That love wasn't something to be earned through perfection, but given freely. And that family wasn't about blood or money or status, but about showing up for each other with open hearts. Victoria Grant Sr., alone in her mansion, surrounded by her empire but empty of love, learned too late that you can't control your way to happiness. That manipulation eventually costs you everything that matters, and that the approval of society means nothing if you lose the love of your family. The moral of this story, dear friends, is simple but profound. Love delayed is not love denied. Sometimes we make terrible mistakes, choose wrong, hurt the people who matter most. But it's never too late to change, to stand up for what's right, to choose love over fear. Real strength isn't about controlling others, but about having the courage to be vulnerable, to admit when you're wrong, to fight for what truly matters. For those who have been hurt, remember that healing is possible, that you can build a beautiful life from broken pieces, and that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but releasing the burden of bitterness. You can be strong and still choose to love again. For those who have made mistakes, know that change is possible, that real transformation comes from facing your failures and choosing differently, and that proving yourself through consistent action matters more than grand gestures or empty promises. And for those trying to control others through manipulation, understand that the power you think you're gaining is actually costing you everything worth having. Real legacy isn't built on control, but on love, not on manipulation, but on connection. Choose love over approval. Choose presence over power. Choose authenticity over image. Choose family over empire. Because at the end of your life, the only thing that matters is whether you loved well and were loved in return. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through Dr. Samuel Chronicles. If this story touched your heart, if you saw yourself or someone you love in these characters, show your support right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And most importantly, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message about second chances, forgiveness, and the power of choosing love. Drop a comment below telling us what lesson you're taking from this story. Are you Team Olivia, who found strength in heartbreak? Team Maxwell, who found redemption through change? Or do you have your own story of love, loss, and second chances? We want to hear from you because your stories matter, Your experiences matter, and this community we're building together matters. Remember, every story we share here at Dr. Samuel Chronicles is about real emotions, real struggles, and real hope. We're all on this journey together, learning and growing and healing. Thank you for being part of our family, for sharing these moments with us, for opening your hearts to these stories. Until next time, choose love, choose truth, and remember that it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. God bless you all.